Imagine holding a weapon so absolute, it guarantees total obedience from anyone who hears it. With a single strike, you could conquer the globe. The author, Leo Tolstoy, is famous for his massive historical epics, but he explored this exact dilemma through a much shorter, sharper thought experiment. He tells the story of a hard-working peasant named Emelyan, who lives a quiet, content life with his remarkably intelligent wife. But their peace is shattered when the local king rides by, spots Emelyan's wife, and decides he wants her for himself. The king cannot simply steal her without causing an open revolt. Instead, he summons Emelyan and issues a royal decree: build a magnificent crystal palace in 24 hours or face execution. This is the tyrant's preferred strategy. He traps his citizens in rigged, unwinnable systems, forcing them into impossible corners where their only options are total compliance or death. Emelyan prepares for the worst, but his wife simply hands him a wooden splinter, instructs him where to place it in the forest, and by morning, a perfect crystal palace stands waiting. Furious, the king drafts an absurd mandate: find go I know not whither, and fetch I know not what. Emelyan hikes for months to find an old mystic. She laughs at the decree, revealing a hollow cylinder wrapped in taut leather. This is the empty drum. The mystic explains its single absolute rule: if you beat it, every soldier who hears it will abandon their orders and follow you blindly. But if the drum is broken, the magic vanishes. Meanwhile, back in the homeland, the greedy king loses all patience. He raises a massive imperial army, arms them to the teeth, and marches directly toward Emelyan's modest cottage to take his wife by force. When the troops arrive, Emelyan does not run. He steps outside his front door alone, holding nothing but the empty drum and 2 wooden sticks, staring down the barrel of a fully mobilized empire. It is the ultimate historical mismatch: a single working-class citizen, armed with a piece of wood, facing down the lethal, coordinated machinery of the state. As the armored vanguard charges, Emelyan strikes the leather skin. Boom, boom, boom. The rhythmic thud echoes across the open fields. Instantly, the king's terrifying vanguard stops dead in their tracks. Their eyes glaze over, completely emptied of their own will. They turn their backs on the screaming king and fall into a rigid, hypnotic formation right behind Emelyan. The louder he plays, the more soldiers emerge from the woods to join the line. Without saying a word, Emelyan turns and walks. He leads this colossal, expanding force of entranced men away from his cottage, marching them right up to the edge of a deep, rushing river. The king is forced to chase after them. His authority has completely evaporated, leaving him a terrified, desperate man, trailing in the mud behind his own stolen army. This reveals the true horror of the empty drum. It is the perfect weapon, because it does not need to slaughter enemy forces to win. It flawlessly and completely assimilates them into its own machine. Standing at the riverbank, the king tries a final negotiation. He begs Emelyan for the drum, offering him a full partnership. In the king's mind, holding this advantage means they now have the right and the means to conquer the entire world and rule unchallenged. The tyrant assumes Emelyan is locked in a binary trap: either surrender the drum and die, or keep it and become the new ruler of a global military empire. Emelyan recognizes the flaw. Surrendering means his wife is taken, but taking the throne requires him to maintain the very military system that just tried to destroy his life. This is the trap of absolute power. If you pick up the tools of your oppressor to secure your own safety, you inherit their role. You become the new tyrant holding the sticks. Emelyan looks back at the thousands of hypnotized men. He does not see a tool for global conquest. He sees husbands, fathers, and sons being used as disposable pawns for one man's pride. He turns back to the king and firmly rejects the entire paradigm, stating he has no use for an army, and the world has no use for these wars. But instead of handing the instrument over, Emelyan picks up a heavy stone, drives it completely through the leather skin of the drum, and snaps the wooden sticks in half. He throws the pieces into the rushing river. Instantly, the trance shatters. The bewildered men blink, realize they are no longer bound by royal commands, and let their heavy weapons hit the mud. Smiling and cheering, the soldiers simply turn around and walk back to their own farms and families. The king is left standing entirely alone, powerless, as Emelyan returns home to live in peace. Tolstoy designed this fable as a direct critique of the modern machinery of war. The empty drum represents the artificial, hypnotic rhythms of propaganda, greed, and blind conformity. He suggests that genuine peace can never be achieved by seizing the enemy's weapons and turning them back on the world. As the text states, it relies on dismantling the tools of destruction entirely. Emelyan wins not by outcommanding the king, but by refusing to play the game at all. By actively breaking the instruments of manipulation, we free each other to recognize our shared humanity over the commands that divide us.